Good morning, friends. Today we will see the one of the important topic relating to the women, that is the women empowerment through a Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. As we know that law is one of the important instrument in our country to empower the women. So in this topic we will discuss whether the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005 really makes women empower or not. As we know that in our democratic country, justice, liberty and equality is important one, and it is also guaranteed us by our constitution. But when it concern with a woman, it again affect the various aspects of our country. That is, our country is mainly the male dominating country, so it is women always dominated by the male, and obviously it affects she's empowerment. Okay, so in this topic we will discuss what changes brought by the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005 and whether it actually empower the women or not. Okay, so in this regard we will see the what are the changes brought by this Amendment Act 2005. If we see the section 4 subclause 2 of the act, which was omitted the provisions for the state, under which state can pass regulation for the prevention of fragmentation of the agricultural holding, or for fixation of selling, or for the devolution of tenancy rights in respect of such holdings. This amendment, particular amendment, tries to remove the inequality and the discrimination in favor of the women. This provision was generally in favor of men, used to retain their supremacy in land. It is indirectly deprives the woman from her equal right with the men. So this provision is totally omitted by this Amendment Act 2005. Now it is not applicable to the women. Okay, now we'll see the next important changes which is brought by this act. So now we'll see the section 6. Section 6 subclause 1 of the Amendment Act 2005. Okay, so this section 6 changed the definition of the co-partner, as co-partner is one of the important concept under the Hindu Succession Act 1956, and previously in that definition only the male member can be considered as a co-partner, and all male member togetherly form the co-partner. Okay, so this amendment changed the whole definition of the co-partner, and now this section 6 subclause 1 is read as that the daughter by birth become the co-partner like a son. Okay, so now now a daughter is also become the co-partner like a son by this Amendment Act. Okay, then the next one is the daughter has the same right in the co-partner property like a son. So the daughter can get the equal right with a son as a co-partner. So now the daughter become the co-partner, so she will get the equal right with a son. So the daughter also has the same liabilities like a son. Here not only the right is given to the daughter or woman, but she will also liable like a son. Then the next important changes which is brought in this Amendment Act is the section 6 subclause 2. According to this section 6 subclause 2, it provides that any property possessed by Hindu women as above shall be absolutely capable to dispose according to his own will. This is most important provisions which is added in this section 6 subclause 2, that she will not get right over that property, but she will also get right to dispose according to his own will. Okay, so she can use to anyone, she can gift, she can sell, she can mortgage, she can given on lease. So all the rights relating to that property will get to that woman. So there is no restriction is put up on the property which is given to women according to this section. Okay, then the section 6 subclause 3 put certain restriction of the dispose of property. According to this provision, when Hindu dies after the commencement of this Act 2005 and the property of a joint Hindu family governed by the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005, then in that situation that provision of the act will be applicable and not the doctrine of survivorship. Okay, so this section 6 subclause 3 totally remove the doctrine of survivorship. Earlierly, according to Hindu Succession Act 1956, the doctrine of survivorship is applicable while distributing the property of the Hindu deceased, but this doctrine of survivorship is totally deleted accordingly, and the now whole property is now distributed according to the Hindu women, according to the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. Okay, then the next changes brought under the section 6 subclause 4, which gives guidelines to the court. So the court is also bound to follow the certain guidelines. It stated that the court could not recognize any right to proceed against son, grandson or great grandson for the recovery of any debt due from his father, grandfather or great grandfather. That is, we can say, the doctrine of the obligation. Earlierly this is the applicable. So the we can say any debt is due from the son, that could be given by the son's son. If it is due from the son's son, it will be given by the son's son. So this doctrine of pious obligation is totally removed by this particular provisions. Okay, now we'll see the next next change which is brought under the section 6 subclause 5, which tries to remove the lacuna which is relating to the antedating partition from the date of the commencement of the amendment. Okay, so it provides that only partition affected by a registered partition deed or by the decree of the court made before the prescribed date, that is the 20th December 2004, will be recognized. Under the state amendments, a woman who was married before the amendment was not entitled to become the co-partner. Okay, so this again the very important provision. So this act came into force in 2005. So the question is arise to what partition it will be applicable. So this particular date is decided by this section. So the women who are married after 2004, she will get the right as a co-partner in that joint Hindu family. Other women who are married before 20 December 2004, they will not get any right over it. Okay, then the next important changes which is brought by the section 23 of the act, which has also omitted, which also disqualifies to ask women for partition in respect of dwelling house. So now the women can also ask for the partition in dwelling house according to this provision. So when women want to get the partition or when want to get the right in that dwelling house, she can ask for the same. Okay, now we'll see the next provision, that is the section 24, which also omitted, which describes the widow of predeceased son and the widow of predeceased son, for the predeceased son or brother's widow to inherit the property of the intestate if they were remarried at the time when the succession is open. Okay, so this section is also omitted, so the widow can also get the share, and that share will be continued. Okay, then the next important provisions, or we can say the next important categories, that is there are new 4, we can say the cognates is one of the, we can say the part in the provisions which are included under this act. So these new cognates are son of a predeceased, firstly the son of a predeceased, daughter of a predeceased daughter, he become the cognate. Then the daughter of a predeceased, daughter of a predeceased daughter, daughter of a predeceased sons of a predeceased daughter, daughter of a predeceased daughter of a predeceased son. So here all the cognates are relating to the women are considered under the category of the cognates according to the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005. Okay, so in conclusion, we can conclude that all these changes which is brought under the Hindu Succession Amendment Act 2005, which tries to get the equal right to the women in the inheritance of the property. Actually, practically whether it will be work or not, that is another part, but this act tries to give her equal right and make her empowerly with a son. Thank you.